want to make sure. So I went all out. This is more for me to stay on topic than it is really for you guys. Okay. But I made a slideshow here for you today, mainly just about customer service, right? So, really as a joke, in case you guys, I know you followed me online for a long time, even before this, but the staff joke is every time Jason says baseball, everyone drink, because that's been my life pretty much up until now. But customer service starts with the, shockingly enough, the game of baseball. Everyone drink. So this is interesting, because I feel like, because you're a sports guy, Tim, so you'll appreciate this anyway, because there's a story here. So in 2009, 2010, I was the manager for a summer collegiate team called the Butler Blue Sox in Butler, Pennsylvania. And in Butler, Pennsylvania, there's this ballpark, it's called Pullman Park, this is what you see here, that was in the 30s through the 50s a minor league stadium for the New York Yankees. And so they had all of the Yankees that you can imagine came through here, because baseball, unlike a lot of sports, you have to kind of pay your dues to go through. There's only been a few people ever go straight up. So the Lou Gehrig's, the Whitey Fords, the Joe DiMaggio's, they all played at this field. And by the time it started getting into the 80s and 90s, it just became like legitimately condemned. And so into the 2000s, the Historical Preservation Society of the area, or however it goes, went to invest $4 million into it because they want to revitalize it. They had a plan to put a summer collegiate team, but then also it needed to be part of the municipality. Basically, they're like, we're going to do this, but it needs to be used, all year long. It needs to be used. It needs to be something that can be used by the school. So not only the summer collegiate team play there, but it was tournaments all day, all the high school seasons, all the state tournament, regional, all this stuff. The field was used tremendously, and they put turf in. But one of the funny components that you can kind of see from this picture a little bit was that the original outfield, which was about 430 feet in center field, had the center field a light pole in play. And they wanted to keep that dimensions as like a historical preservation, but they wanted to build, of course, new stadium grandstands. So the only way they could do that was to eliminate basically all of the foul territory. So you can see, like, my first base coach here is literally, his back is against the stands. Like, that's how close. Like, and me at third base, when I screwed up, the guy could like whisper in my ear that I'm an idiot. You suck. Like right here. So it was a great couple summers, and the reason that it's poignant is because it was really ground zero for me developing really my core two principles that became Books and Brews. And it's funny, like when I go back and look at all the pictures, and this is what struck me, this is not a story, like when I show this video to the staff that I talk about a lot, probably because I probably even couldn't verbalize it really even until recently about this is really where it came from. But when I think about all the pictures and all the things that I've been through in these 2 summers that were really life-changing, and I have endless stories. It was a crazy couple of summers. I come back to these 2 guys, and it's really funny, like all the pictures that you go through and you see the pictures of these guys. So this guy's name is Bob, this guy's name is Bill, and they're complete volunteers. And Bob, for example, would he worked third shift, and this is outside of Pittsburgh by like an hour, and so blue collar, some sort of machine type of work that he did. I can't remember 100%. All I know is I remember him showing up after, like when he came to the ballpark to help. He came after work, like he'd been up all night long, and now he's coming. He's volunteering his time, and it wasn't just for us. It was for the school year, all year round. Both of these guys, all the time that they spent there, and it was a turf field. On the infield, you can see, and this is more deep dive nerdy, but it's not. This is really at the beginning of this, where nowadays they keep it, turf all the way, like including the warning track. But it's a real. You put in turf, a lot of people think it's low maintenance. The turf is low maintenance, but when there's dirt next to it, it becomes a real issue, especially with like the wear and tear that's on the field. Is that a lot of the dirt gets sucked over into the rubber, and it becomes a bad aesthetic problem. And so, being the field that it was, the municipality, it's not like there's really a lot of labor to help out with these things. And so these guys would come and volunteer their time day in, day out, first people there, last people to leave, and I didn't even find out till later that they're like totally volunteers. And that was when, and it's funny, so this is my last picture ever there, those two guys. And it's cool to me that this is like my last moment that I was at the stadium, you know, like who's left? Like the person who took this picture and us, you know, like last guys to leave. So really this is where I personified it with these two guys. And, you know, like a guy well, really for both of them. Here you have a ballpark that has this historical tradition, right? And it's gone through a lot of iterations over the years, all the way to being condemned, and now a lot of money is being invested in it, and now there's a lot of people that are coming around it. And, you know, when you see someone, the volunteerism that comes out of something like that, something that is really beneficial to the community, to the school system, there's a place that brings people together. As you saw, like the stands, like they packed the place. Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area in general is some of the like just most rabid fans on the planet about anything, just about athletics. And it was, and there's a lot of stories that I could segue there, but it all came back to me really noticing for the first time, I think, and you know, one of the reasons because of this is because I was outside of my comfort zone. You know, I've never been to, well, I mean, I've been to Pennsylvania, but like never, you know, working anywhere kind of where I didn't know someone. You show up, I don't know anybody, you know, and I do a job. And summer collegiate baseball, like the way it works is the players, like you put together, it's like college all-star teams, like they're coming from all over the country. They show up June 1st, it's like, hi, how you doing? You have one practice on June 2nd, you start playing on June 3rd, you play every single day for 2 months, and they all go home. And so you're just thrown into the fire of filling out a lineup. Like I know these guys, I've talked to them on the phone, like I put the team together, but I don't know them, you know? And so, anyway, the point is like the fish out of water feeling of being there, I think changed my perspective to be able to see more vividly what it really meant for someone like Bob and Bill to see something that's so beneficial for the community and what they believed in and bringing people together, that they just wanted to be part of it. You know, they wanted to do whatever they didn't just want to be a part of it. Like they took pride in the fact that, you know, this is something that's so good for the community that, you know, something, whatever you need. Like you need me to the dirt around home plate, do you need to line the field, do you need me to take out the trash? Like these guys are willing to do anything just to be a part of it. And so that was the first time I really hit me, you know. I think that everyone has that desire. I started looking around and seeing people just want to be a part of something. They want to, whether it's having ownership over it or just being a small cog in the wheel, like they just want to feel good about their contributions, about the stuff that they do. And so, you know, like everyone has a fundamental need to belong, you know. That's what it comes down to. And I don't think it's ever going to be erased from us and our DNA. Some people have argued with me online, for example, like once VR gets to a point that people will be able to fool themselves sort of through VR, like once we're in like Ready Player One, the Oasis, right? That we'll be able to get our fix with like our 360 treadmill of like, you know, but like I just don't think it's possible. I don't think that we can trick thousands and thousands of years of what's been built into us by, you know, a headset. We're still gonna feel the headset. Like I don't care how real it is. Like you're still gonna know your people aren't near you. I don't care if even if you have like a suit on that where like you can feel them like shake your hand. Like it's not gonna matter. And so people are always gonna want that, you know. So I'm gonna bookend really the whole experience, starting with the summation, and I'm gonna come back to it. But it's really as easy as this. Like when it comes to you and your staff, in customer service, if it just starts with the fundamental idea that everyone that walks through the door is just looking for somewhere they can belong, or a group, or a place, or a thing, a group, a team, a place, you know. It's part of the reason why, you know, we don't go down this road ever in Books and Brews, but it's part of the reason why we get so tribal on a lot of topics. You know, it's part of the reason why we start to identify with parties or groups that we don't 100% belong to, because people just feel the need to be a part, like put a badge on their chest of like a card-carrying member of whatever. And so being able to be empathetic with that, with people, is where it starts, is that we understand a lot of people are just looking for somewhere where they can fit in, that understands them, where they can belong, or that they can contribute. And so starting with that, having the perception of that, starts every interaction. And once you get there, it really helps dealing with any scenario that can come up. The second one is, and again, like towards the end of my second year there, with hanging out with Bob and Bill and the squad and seeing how much they did and how they didn't ask for shit. There's part of the reason why I didn't know they were volunteers was because I never heard them bitch about it being hot outside or cold or getting up early, or they just loved being there because they wanted to contribute, and I was shocked when I found out they were volunteers. Like, you never would have guessed in a million years. These guys would have done it, like they would have walked on razor blades in order to be a part of this thing. And so once that hit me, like I remember getting the team up at one point, and I feel like it was the first time I was able to really verbalize, this fact of like, I really believe the number one motivation in the world is thank you. Like, these guys aren't doing it for anything. They're not doing it for money. They're definitely not doing it for status, because they aren't anybody. They're just volunteers. They're not head groundskeeper. Like, there's no resume building here. Like, they're not doing it certainly for power. Like, there's no one underneath them. There's no career advancement here. There's no reason for them to be there except for they just want to be recognized. And so all this stuff chops me up because that's the guy I am. Like, I told the squad, like, I want everyone like to go get in line and shake their hand. And you would have thought that I was giving $1 million bills. Like, these guys were so appreciative of that. So, number one, the empathy, that understanding that and taking the time to get to know these two individuals is important. And that goes for, again, the cusp of every interaction with every guest. The second one is, the appreciation, like I said, of the contribution. I think that anyone who starts to get a little disgruntled about their situation in their workplace, it usually probably comes from a spot where they don't feel recognized for what they're doing. And that is usually independent of the financials. Not always, but usually. And so that is a key component to customer service as well as staffing.